can't explain the joy you bring it. Girl, you know I love you more than just a lie.
Hey, Alvin Jameson here, the mortgage guy. Are you looking to get pre-approved for a home loan? Or maybe you want to build a house from the ground up? Are you curious, or better yet, is your significant other on your back about making renovations in your current home? Call me. I have options for you. All self-employed individuals. Are you torn between writing off all your income or having to show your income to qualify for a house? I have a third alternative for you. Whether you're a W-2 employee, self-employed individual looking to do a purchase or pull money out of your current house, or better yet, we can't forget the investors out there. If you have that high interest rate, hard money loan and looking to refinance out of it, again, give me a call. I have options. Below are the states that I'm personally licensed in. Call me, 404-587-9033. Again, 404-587-9033. Visit the website, alvinjameson.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's time for Who Got Next Radio.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl London B, and straight out of Philly, you are now listening to Philly Jams on God.
I know, man. I come from Jamaica, I come like me. We come up.
Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to Zipmouth Motivation Podcast, where, we keep it real raw, but we also keep it motivated and encouraging. So I told y'all this whole month I was going to have guests. So I'm really excited. I do have another guest. I'm really excited because she also is a mindset coach. And so I think what we do is so powerful and it's so, it's just so different. I don't know if you ever spoke to a mindset coach. It's just something about us that is very different from other coaches. And not saying like, people like, you better to know, not saying that. It's just something different about being a mindset coach and being intuitive. So both of us are intuitive mindset coaches, which is wonderful. So I'm excited for this show today. And I know that it's going to be powerful. I know that she's going to give you some great information, some tools to take with you, and just some insight on who she is and what she does. As usual, please subscribe. I always say please subscribe to my channel. And remember to listen every Tuesday on 101.5 Indie Radio at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. where I am the host. So I'm going to bring her up because I'm not going to wait any longer because I know y'all waiting. Hey, Sasha, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome to Zipmouth Motivation Podcast. So I'm excited to have you here. Would you tell the people who you are?
So I'm Sasha. I'm a certified mindset coach. In my practice, I also use Gene Keys and Human Design to help women really see themselves. And so that way they are able to reconnect back to themselves. What I had found was a lot of women, especially myself, this is really stems from my own experiences and insecurities. I really learned to stop seeking that validation and stop looking to other places and people, especially, my husband and peer and basically online, and to stop seeking that validation, that happiness from other people or especially other women.
Right. I like that because we do tend to seek validation in our beginning processes of learning who we are from husband, boyfriend, or friends, or whoever. What led you to become a certified intuitive mindset coach? And how did you discover the Gene Key in Human Design?
So it goes back. It's always like a roundabout reason why this happened. So where I was in my relationship at like about 35, 36 years old, I guess I had gotten to a point where it was like enough. I remember my coach actually asking me, what is it that you want from your life? What do you want? And it took me a year. Like, I really couldn't find anything that my parents didn't want from me, with the expectations of even my children from me, my job, everybody else. And then, I was able to piece together some things, but I was like, this is a real problem. In terms of finding gene keys in human design, what I was trying to do at the time is I was in an MLM, and I was like, shocking. This was like really hard, and it wasn't something I was used to. I was used to education and being in psychology, things like that I was naturally good at. So I did hire a coach. What she ended up doing was starting her own coach school. And we then moved into that whole modal of like gene keys and human design, which filled in a lot of the gaps for what we were learning, because we did learn a lot of Bob Proctor's work. I don't know, maybe some people are familiar with him. That was her mentor up until he passed away. So we got to learn a lot from him, but there was a lot of things that he was saying that was absolutely amazing, but gene keys in human design fills in that gap. What are those paradigms? What is this unconscious, what is in our unconscious that we're really supposed to be listening to? How do you find that? And this was like filled in every single gap. It's an absolute game changer for people personally, and I believe it's coming where it's going to be more mainstream for like coaches like us.
I believe that too. I believe that too. Can you share a pivotal moment in your own journey that shaped your passion to help women in relationships and careers?
Yeah, that goes back to when I was like 35, 36. I hit rock bottom with everything. I think the most successful thing that to me was being a mom. On the outside, everybody else would be like, what are you talking about? You did really well at this network marketing thing. You are like the star educator at your job. You are doing X, Y, Z and everything else. And it was a mask. It was a mask. I couldn't even begin to explain how unhappy I was. And I was a pretty crap wife, as well, because and it all stemmed from me not taking care of myself and just saying, let me just keep putting out fires. If, he had his issues, that was my issue too. And that's not how it works. And that was really, really a breaking point for me. And that was when I was like, this isn't okay. And when I really started to study myself, and it was like, there are millions upon millions of women that need to hear this, and that I know feel this way, and let these women off the hook, and start to be like, you're not meant to be this way. And I can honestly see how now, how in depth with some women, wow, you're really not meant to go that way. We're so unique. And what we're supposed to be doing and what we're here to do. And if you're not here and living your purpose, everything falls at the wayside. And that was what it was for me. I couldn't understand, there was some success. We all have that, but when you're not happy, what good is that?
It's no good. It's no good. I think that that is a powerful thing that you learned about yourself. And I think that a lot of women can benefit for that, because we look at success sometimes as things, or, I have a great husband and I have a nice house and I have good kids, but I'm still dying in the inside, Yeah. And so we want to, like you said, put out everybody else's fires, but then in the inside, we are like in ashes almost, So I love that. how does gene key in human design play a role in understanding relationship dynamics and life purpose?
So when you know yourself and you're not trying to fit somebody else's modality or program or process into your life, it makes everything so much easier. So I always like to say that in a relationship, there are boundaries. And I know everyone's going to be like, oh, well, I set boundaries. I tell this person I don't like that and they need to change.
Right.
Absolutely not. And that's not the boundary. The boundary is what are you going to do? That's the boundary. I will never ever again ask my children, ask my husband, ask my best friend, anybody what they should do. I'll never tell them what they should do. But what I will do is say, I really don't like, I don't know, let's say it's smoking, or let's say it's like something else. I really don't like that behavior. I really don't like that activity or whatever. I'm going to XYZ.
Wow.
And I'm starting to do that a lot. It has changed the dynamic of the relationship. They get to be who they are. And I get to set my boundary, and it's not easy. Right. But it's not so easy now for me that it's just like, well, this is what I'm going to do because I'm not going back to how I was. Absolutely. Where gene keys and human design come in is it really shows you and how you operate, how you are meant to interact with certain people, how you can be off-putting to some people, but when used correctly, how that could be an asset to you.
Absolutely.
And so it really brings in those like dynamics of like your life's work, your purpose, how you're meant to radiate, how you're meant to be this lighthouse out, like how you're meant to radiate out, while being yourself. There's so many things now that I'm like, oh my God, what this person's doing is so amazing. And I used to jump at, oh my God, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that. It was spin. And now it's just like, that's really nice. How can I work with somebody like that and bring myself now authentically, how I can do that? And the same is in the relationship. And how I really, I think it really taught me to stand my ground on things. And also I'm able to kind of see myself and call myself out. It's not always like the other person, but saying, oh, okay, we're falling back into this. In Gene Keys, they call it a shadow, but we can call it like a problem or paradigms that consistently come up. And there's very specific ones for people. And when that comes up, like mine is indifference is one of them, and inertia. And when that comes up with people, I could see it come up like, oh, I don't really care. I care. I just, that's where my frustration is. And that's where I need to kind of be like, oh, okay, like something's up. Let me pause. Let me figure out where this is coming from.
Right. I love that. I absolutely, that's how I live my life. And a lot of people don't understand that, because it's a little bit different for me to say like, hey, like I really don't like that, and then remove myself, or I'm setting a boundary for me, like you can continue to do what you're doing, but I'm going to do this, and it's really hard for people to understand that, because mentally, emotionally, people are so used to control that when you're telling them like, I'm not trying to control you, I just want to be me, and you can be you, and whatever you is, do it. I'm happy for you, enjoy it, but I don't partake, So I love that, and I love how you explain.
So hardcore. That was it. A lot of conditioning, a lot of old school things, a lot of cultural things. It was a lot of unlearning, and just kind of saying, no, this is, this isn't what I want to do. Like I said, people will eventually stop and just kind of, respect your boundary, or just say, well, I want to keep doing this, and they'll do that, and they understand the repercussions of that, or they'll just say, you know what, that's not worth it. I'd rather, either spend time with my friend, or, do this. It's not worth that, like,
absolutely.
whatever that headache or whatever it was. So
Right. Absolutely. Many women feel like single parents, despite being in a relationship. Why does this dynamic happen, and how can they shift it? Like when you feel like you're in a relationship, but you still feel like a single parent, how can they shift that dynamic of what they feel during that time?
it's communication. I think
Mhm.
for me, for a long time, why that idea settled in for so long is because I never communicated it. I just kind of got angry and did it myself. And that's kind of how I always operate, or used to kind of operate, which is not saying anything, holding that in and getting that, like giving that just resentment. Communication is key. And then again, it's just saying like, I need help with this. You know,
Right.
some people might say, I'm not getting the reaction, or I'm not getting the answer that I wanted, then that's something to really be discussed, and or should have been discussed when these things happened, and we're in, you know, in a partnership. I mean, nobody gets off the hook here. Like it's just like now we just have a bigger problem because it's you're expressing some kind of dislike, you're feeling overwhelmed, and believe me, like it comes to a head.
Mhm.
From running to pick up kids to helping with homework and doing all of these things, and it's like I remember somebody saying, but you're married. And I was like, I know, it feels it you know, it's,
Right.
you almost forget there's a partner because you just start to go on this autopilot. But the main
Right.
thing is that communication and saying, I can't, you know, what I can and can't do anymore. This is where it would be most helpful. Where would it
Right.
be most helpful? Maybe, you know, you don't have to be, I think for me, it was always this super mom status. And
Right.
my mom worked really hard, but there was a lot of track meets that weren't, you know, like she couldn't make and things like that. And, you know, I know where my issue with that comes from.
Right.
At the same time, I have to, you know, I am only one person, and there's that
Mhm.
self-care that has to come in for me as well. And I've learned to speak up, and, you know, if there's an answer that's not, not the best, I need to talk about it, because now
Absolutely.
we have something that we need to hash out. So that's
Absolutely.
a lot of things that don't, you know, it's like if you don't do this, like, you know, that here we go again. It's just really speaking that boundary, and saying this is where I need help, and, you know, and that discussion. It's really, really, we really forget, like, nobody's in our head, and nobody has this, like, I'm sure we have like a War and Peace novel in our head of expectations
Right.
of other people, and they don't know what that is. And that's what I had to
Absolutely.
realize too. They don't have it. They don't have it. It's in your head.
Absolutely. You
Um,
know, it's hard to tell people, like, I don't know what's in your head. I understand that you see that I'm looking at you, but maybe I'm looking at you because I'm trying to put together a puzzle. But why do I have to put together a puzzle? Why can't you just tell me what it is you need so that I can tell you if I can support you in that thing or not? It's
yeah,
that simple. And
it's
maybe that doesn't
communication.
seem simple, you know,
Yeah,
to some
that one
people.
step, and then you just go from there. Don't assume anything. Don't have
Yeah.
over expectations of people. It's just one step. Oh, okay. Thank you for helping. Or, oh, we need to discuss this because I can't continue to go like this. I have literally run myself sick. So
Hmm.
it's gone that deep that, you know, and really a lot of women fall into this depression or in resentfulness and things like that. And it's really hard to come back from
Right.
when they're not, you know, they're not really either communicating effectively or not having their needs met after communicating to the best of their ability.
Absolutely, absolutely. What are some key signs that someone is in a codependent relationship without realizing
Um, well, it's definitely the one that I spoke about. It's like if I ask, and some people will say, because I had a list of things that I thought, oh, I want this big house, I want this nice car, I want this whatever. And you just peel back. That's all societal things that you might want. And from that point of where I was and where I'm at now, the things that I want, oh my God, it's so different. But you're in that relationship when you can't answer what it is that you want. And
Right.
you can't really, I'm trying to go back to where I was, because it was just like everything was done for me. And a lot of things it was just easier to let somebody else handle it. And when you're unhappy and you're not allowing yourself to sit in that and to then try and figure out what to do to get yourself out of that.
Right.
And you're just running to, like, I'll use my friend's name, Nicole, you're running to your husband, or you're
Right.
running to a coworker and you're kikiing with them and what should I do and everything else. Absolutely not.
Right.
And that's where you're so dependent that you can't make a decision for yourself. Is this, should I leave my job? Should I do this? Should I whatever? Everything is intuitively in you. And it's almost criminal how I remember just blocking all of my things. Well, it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the way that I'm designed, it's really like, I was wondering why I was so freaking frustrated. And why does this feel like Groundhog's Day? I'm not meant to live a Groundhog Day kind of.
Right.
I'm working on getting out of that too.
Right.
But it's figuring out what it is that you want and not really asking so much from other people. It's really not asking at all.
Right.
The same thing, just pretend like somebody is in front of you and you can ask, but you're really asking yourself.
Right.
And it'll come. Whether God, whatever, universe, whatever you believe, I sit there and if I'm at a loss, I sit there and say, God, I'm having trouble. I don't know, what to do. And you sit with that.
Right.
You sit with yourself. And that's when it will come to you.
Absolutely.
When you're constantly going, that's that seeking of that validation and just saying, oh, you're right. You're only giving them validation of, like, quote unquote, how awesome they are because they're able to solve all of your problems. They're absolutely learned nothing, and they really don't know the ins and outs of your mind, your experience, and things like that. So it's almost a disservice from those people that you're asking, and it's a disservice to yourself instead of just sitting in, contemplation and just kind of asking that question of yourself over and over again. And something will come up. Well, things might be like, well, I really like doing this, but I'm, and what comes up for a lot of women is just fear. It's just fear. It's just fear of the, of the unknown and what it is that, you really want, because you're so used to tying everything else to everybody else and that happiness and all of those things. And there's no freedom there. You've just anchored yourself to just other people and you've become that puppet for others.
It's
crazy. It's so crazy looking back. It's night and day now, but.
How can women struggling with commitment issues better understand themselves and what they truly need?
Well, you have to know yourself. And that's where a lot of self-study comes in. And that's where I found, the Gene Keys human design thing really helped me, because it was, I get what every guru and everybody was saying, but it's that self-study of you. And it will, everything that we talk about, everything is going to come back to you, and it's the self-study of yourself. You have to know what these triggers are for you. What do you want? There's some people where, we're in this conditioning where maybe a committed relationship is not for you. Maybe, or if it is, it's really understanding you, how you work, how you tick,
Right.
and maybe how you compromise others.
Right.
It's just so important that it's just not finding, like, we all know what we're attracted to, we all know what we like and everything else, but we don't know that much about ourselves. And that's what I see in a lot of women. It's just like, oh, that like, I will, either talk to them for a bit and then kind of take a look at their profile, and it's just, they are a stranger to themselves. There's
Right.
no connection to themselves. So to even, talk about connecting yourself with somebody else is like asinine. You don't even know yourself. And so
Right.
the
You
main
don't.
thing is to start to study yourself. What do you like?
Mhm.
And setting that standard of, too many times, what do I see is just that lowering of the bar. Because again, when you're just giving your power away and things like that, and oh, well, he wouldn't do this for me, and so I'm going to lower the bar here. I've seen it with my friends, and just amazing women, like looking at their design, speaking to them, and just being like, you are an amazing person. And you're just giving this power away to somebody who, may or may not be here. And
Right. Right.
so I think that is the main thing. If you're struggling with anything, it's just to figure out what it is with yourself, and then setting that boundary, and not having that expectation that that person is going to fill any void in you. That's complete crap.
Absolutely.
I think that's what a lot of women are just like, oh, they're the cherry on top. Really, you should be building your own cake and loving yourself. And every single time, and I'm married, every single time I'm like, oh, I have some kind of expectation. I really try and just kind of like be like, yeah, that's nice. What can I do to bring that back to myself? And I know that sounds really conceited, but it's really not. It's that self-love piece that in 30-something years. I'll take it.
It does not sound selfish. I promise. I had a friend over yesterday, and we were talking about, being selfish with yourself, like basically like putting yourself first and really putting yourself first. I know, like when the self-love crave came out, most people were like, oh, I got to take myself on a trip to Dubai and I got to do this, but they weren't doing that internal stuff. And they were not understanding that, like, everything has to be checks and balance. If you're giving something, you have to receive something back. And I said, we have been conditioned to think that if I give you something, if you're not giving it out the goodness of your heart, then you shouldn't be giving it to me because I shouldn't have to give you anything back. That's not how that goes, because there has to be a balance. If I'm giving you some time, like you get the time here on the podcast, guess what you're giving me? You're giving me great information. You're giving me enlightenment. You understand? So there is a giving and receiving all the time that has to be done. It doesn't sound conceited. Well, what can I do to bring this back to me? Yeah. That's how you should think.
And when you're loving yourself that much, I promise, like, everybody that it just benefits everybody. My relationships are so much better. It's just like, I'm not burdening anybody with problems. Like sometimes, like if I'm thinking something out, like it's okay. Like I'll just kind of fire off something and they'll just give more of a feedback thing. Right. But it's not like, oh my God, this is the end all be all of what, like, I'm going to take this advice. It's just, noodling on it and just kind of being like, oh, okay, like I'll think about it. But the real importance there is, the important takeaway is just everything that you expect from a partner and everything, just give to yourself first.
Right.
And that way it's all in you. This other person is just nobody, your kids, everybody, they didn't come, God didn't give them to you to make you happy. They are their own being with their own design, everything. And they have that responsibility for themselves to just love themselves. And we are an added benefit to them, just as
Right.
they are just an added benefit, and there's no pressure on them, especially since it's our responsibility to kind of teach that. So there's a lot of, I think that's so important.
I think that is majorly important. I want to ask you two more questions before we go. What happens during the rewrite your story session, and how does this create transformation?
So yeah, this is one of, it's actually really fun, and it's a beautiful session because a lot of women have said, I've never done anything like this for myself before.
Right.
And so what it is almost like an audit, like a relationship, self-love, almost kind of thing audit. And it's asking very specific questions on a rating scale. And we really talk about that. And these are questions that nobody's really asked before. And we really go into what it is that, where these things are coming up, and thoroughly discussing why these things are coming up, why, like, it's really it's really sad but enlightening when they don't realize, like, oh my God, like I really got to rate myself a 2 because I've really never allowed myself to be happy outside of my marriage, something like that. It's something really deep. It's a safe space. I've had that with my friends, but like I never really had like an objective person talking to me. And it's really powerful. As a free gift, you do get your Gene Keys profile, and I do take out like a tidbit or two about, so like a little bit about yourself, and that, like, everybody just loves that. They're like, oh my God, this is spot on, this is absolutely amazing. And it's something ahead of time that's applicable before the session, but it's a session where it's really all about you. It's celebrating you. It's really getting you to reconnect back to yourself. Because nobody's been asking you these questions. Nobody has been, they ask if you're okay. Some people really don't care. But it's deeper than, are you okay? It's you, me and you just really going deep into you. And that's something that a lot of women have never had, or haven't really had it in a really long time. So it's a really beautiful session. Where we get to the bottom of a lot of issues that are holding them back. Right.
I love that. I definitely love that. How can, if someone wants to have a session with you or get in touch with you, how would they be able to do that?
They can go to sashagreenidge.com. There on there, there's more information, specific information about the session, and you can sign up right there on the landing page, and immediately they'll be given a link to sign up for, to schedule a session, and you'll get your Gene Key profile. And when they send that back, I'll be able to share like really cool information about them. I guarantee it's powerful, something that they really need to hear about themselves. And then we really embark on that powerful session. So it's sashagreenidge.com.
sashagreenidge.com. And on Zipmouth Motivation, I love to leave the people with something that's going to be powerful. But before I do that, I want to ask, is there anything that we didn't touch on during your interview that you want to touch on now?
No, but I always like to share this piece of information. I heard it, and coming from where I come from with all of this self-doubt and with that vulnerability and everything, is really, it's really cheesy that we all say, oh, we don't know what tomorrow brings and everything like that. But really think about it. Somebody said, I forget who originally said this, but he's like, we spend our entire life tiptoeing our way to death.
Ooh.
Isn't that powerful? It's
That
just,
is-
right?
Wow.
So whatever it is that you're going through, right, it just take the time right now. I've lost somebody. I'm 43 years old. I lost somebody last year, like three people around my age. And if you feel any way that, like I've been talking about, like you're just tethering your happiness, you're tethering everything to somebody else and literally giving your power away. You can't. And it's just, don't wait until, oh, I'm going to retire, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Don't tiptoe your way to death. It's now. So we want to become her now, and take steps every day to really do that. And if it's a free session, if it's listening to this podcast, like really, really try and take that step now to do that.
Right.
That was a really powerful thing. You don't know if you get to retirement, and when you do retire, I think the scary statistic was like, oh, you have like 11 years, and people waited their whole lives for that. For 11 years. If you survive. If you survive. Yeah, so take that time, and really, I really hope that sinks in for a lot of people. It did for me, and which is why I'm here now and talking to you and talking to other people, like, and really sharing and learning about myself, so I can share the best parts of myself. And my goal is to have other women be able to see that in themselves and do that and spread that, instead of what is Kim Kardashian doing, or what is, like what all this nonsense. It's like, well, what are you doing? And showing up I guarantee that some of these women are 10 times greater in what they can accomplish and do and have to give to the world than them. So
yes, I appreciate you. That oh boy, that really changed my perspective, because you spend your whole life tiptoeing to death. And why do we do that? Just live, and let's live and truly love ourselves. I definitely would like to have you come back on the show for another session. Maybe we can do a mindset coaching session or something like that. We can really get deep, since this is where we are in this place. I think it would be great. I want to tell you, I appreciate you for coming on. You supported me, so I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed listening to you. Please go and follow her. Do you have social media that you want them to follow you on?
Yeah, Instagram is where it's at right now. Sasha Harris _Greenidge. And that's the same for TikTok. I'm getting used to TikTok. I'm more of a scroller on TikTok, but Instagram, a lot of also amazing insights as well.
Okay, so she has an Instagram, Sasha Greenidge. Go look for her. Go follow her. Definitely check her out. Go check her out so you can check out the Gene Key, and maybe you can schedule a session with her, and definitely do that, because when you start getting to know yourself, there is something powerful about knowing yourself, like truly knowing yourself. And I think it would be great for each and every person to try to get involved. So reach out to her. I was going to say something else, and it completely slipped my mind. But as usual, I appreciate you all. I love you for showing up to the show. Continue to like, share, and subscribe. Definitely follow me on all platforms. Zipmouth Motivation on everything, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It's all the same. Zipmouth Motivation. Go follow me, and I always follow back. You don't have to watch me, and I don't get to watch you. That doesn't sound fair to me. So definitely go and follow me. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you soon. Let's get into it, y'all. Let's go ahead and dismantle this myth. Let's dismantle this mindset that is holding us back. It's holding us back. It's literally holding us back. We live in a world where people say things like, stay 10 toes down, or never let them see you sweat. They tell us that showing emotion makes us weak, that we have to be head up with everything, guard our hearts, and detach to survive. Now, y'all know I've been talking about survival mode for a long time, and it seems like this is the place that we're stuck in for whatever reason. I don't know. Stuck in the survival mode. The survival mode is there to keep you struggling. But let me tell you something. Being emotionally closed off isn't a strength. It's a fear in disguise. It's almost like me saying, I'm shy. But really, I have a fear of talking to people, right? Because I'm afraid of whatever is inside of me or whatever happened when I was young. It's a trauma. You get me? So that's the same thing with being emotionally closed off. Emotionally closed off to the world, to people, to love, to excitement. It's like, why are we doing this? So today we're going deep. We're going to uncover why society pushes this idea and how it's actually hurting us and what true strength really looks like. And I know. Everybody be like, I'm strong. I don't care what you say. I'm strong. I get you. You are strong. But you're emotionally detached, so that's a weakness. Sometimes we have to put stuff in our face or have people put it in our face in order for us to really understand where we're coming from. So let's talk about what we've been conditioned. And I would say conditioned, quote unquote. So now if you watch this on Jess TV, y'all see my quote thing. So definitely being conditioned to believe this mindset didn't come out of nowhere. It's been taught to us, ingrained in us in a sense, especially certain cultures. Like, I'm African American, you better stay 10 toes down. You know, you can't be showing no emotion. You can't never let them see you sweat or anything like that. But who cares? Because you have to get to the space in your life where you don't care what people think or what they feel about what decisions that you make. Survival mode thinking. Many of us grew up in an environment where vulnerability was dangerous. You know, like if you act quote unquote soft, then everybody gonna pick on you. If you're a person who cries a lot, you can't cry in front of people because people gonna pick on you and they're gonna pick on, you know, who you are and what you do. But maybe you saw people get taken advantage of for showing their emotions. So you learned early that shutting down was the safest option. But is it? Is that the safest option? Somebody does something to you and now they feel obligated that you should not feel hurt by what they did. That's wild. That's a wild way of thinking. If somebody hurt you, they hurt you. Tell them they hurt you. Tell them, you hurt me, you hurt me. Cultural conditioning. In certain spaces, especially Black and brown spaces, you know, we teach our young people that being soft gets you hurt. And literally, this comes from slavery, y'all. It comes from slavery. Because we were not allowed to show emotion. We were not allowed to show pain. We were not allowed to, because there was nothing going to be done about it except for you might get beaten or you might get something taken away from you or you could be the next up to lose your life or something like this. This is stemmed from slavery, and this is why Black and brown people, we teach our people, we teach our kids. We've heard things like man up, get over it, since our childhood. But how can you get over something that you don't deal with? And by means of dealing with it is, how are you going to get over something if you don't face it? If you're suppressing it, then you're never facing it. So how could this be? Social media in the quote unquote hustle culture, just a little tidbit from me. I do not think you're a hustler if you're nickel and diamond people in your neighborhood, especially if you live in a community where there is not a lot of money already. That is not hustling to me. Social media, you got to take what you need and leave what you don't need. That's just the gist of that. let's be real. Social media has glorified the ice cold mentality for like so long. It's almost like they only put things of that nature. Like, I don't know if y'all realized that recently they've taken the senses off of everything. So now everybody is back to posting all these different kind of fights and all these different kind of things. Like, they're back to posting those things, right? I think that thing is so crazy that we find excitement in that, because people don't realize that adrenaline and that dopamine in your brain continuously wants you to see negativity, continuously wants you to see people fighting, and what that thing does is it keeps you in a survival mode, not able to escape, because you start playing these different scenarios in your. I think that social media is sometimes the wildest thing ever. It's the biggest mind control. It's like a mass mind control by way of the things that they celebrate on there. We see posts that say things like no feelings, just business, or cut everyone off and grind. But, and I feel like I'm a true quote unquote hustler. But you can't cut everybody off, because you need somebody. You need somebody's, because who keeps you encouraged? Yes, you can encourage yourself, but it's important to have a great team of people around you to support you in those things that you're doing, to push you when you can't push yourself. So how you gonna cut everybody off and grind when you need a network? Because you're not just grinding by yourself. I understand that the world teaches us that, you know, like you just nobody. I get it, but you need somebody to trust. You need somebody's to trust, because everyone plays a role in your life. Like, you play a role, multiple roles in different people's life. Everybody plays a role, but who is it that's really being serviced by these ideas? Because the people who live by that are often the most broken people on the inside. People who live on this like grind only, cut everybody off, leave people alone. I don't need nobody. I don't need a woman. I don't need a man. These people are miserable most of the time. Sometimes they'll admit it, and sometimes they won't. It really just depends. But this is the thing, though. This is the thing, right? How do we get out of this? The cost of emotional detachment is crazy. Let's talk about the cost of buying into this mindset, because every belief we hold on costs us something. It costs us something. What has being cold and being bothered, what has that done for you mentally? If you can't connect emotionally, how do you build deep relationships? And this is where we get the surface love from. This is why nobody knows what love is anymore. Like, love is almost extinct. If you look at the world, you can see people are separated, detached. They don't know what empathy is, sympathy. Nobody understands these things anymore. You have like a handful of people that do, but then it's like we so spread out and we so tired of dealing with people who don't have these things. Like, we just want to hide at this point. We just want to be in our houses. We don't want to talk to people. We like, everybody's so detached. Like, who do I have? So then you kind of travel people. Like, do these people? And then you're nervous because you don't know if they really care. You don't know. So you got to take a chance. You got to take a chance. People say they want love, but they refuse to be vulnerable. You cannot love with walls on. You cannot love with walls on. Because what happens is you have a person putting more time and energy into you than what you're putting into them, and that's not fair.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl London B, and straight out of Philly, you are now listening to Philly James on God.
Big, you got it. I know, man. So that. I come from Jamaica, I come like this. Become a pest.
Shawty wanna flirt, but she got a man.